Good morning. Welcome to the Grant Cohn Show. I'm your host, Grant Cohn. Hopefully, you checked out my YouTube channel yesterday. I had an exclusive one-on-one interview with the great Vernon Davis. Gave me more than half hour of his time. We talked about his upcoming memoir. I want to write a memoir. Vernon Davis wrote a memoir. It's called Playing Ball. I read it. We talked about it. If you have any questions, you have any comments, I'm going to talk about Vernon in a minute. But first, I want to talk about the other 85. Vernon likes to call himself the real 85, which is highly intriguing. I'd have to say he's the real 85 too. And I'm not biased at all. It's not like I would pick the guy who came on my show over the guy who didn't. But let's talk about the other 85, George Kittle. I think it's interesting where he stands on this team. He was in the same position as Christian McCaffrey just a couple of weeks ago. Signed through 2025. No guaranteed money left on the deal. Now, Kittle is 3 years older than Christian, but Kittle plays tight end, which, I mean, the players can play tight end into their mid to late 30s. We've seen it. Even when you're not fast anymore, you can still be a blocker or a weapon in the red zone, in the end zone. Running backs, I mean, by the time they're 28, 29, if they've had a lot of carries and usage and touches, they often fall apart. And that's what McCaffrey has had at this point in his career. Hard to say where he's going to end up. So, two essential players on the offense, tight end, running back. One of them is probably harder to replace in Kittle. Both with 2 years left on the deal. Both with no guaranteed money left. McCaffrey gets taken care of. Extension, guaranteed money, whatever you need. You're the greatest. 31 touchdowns in 27 games with the Niners. He's the entire offense. Yeah, sure, get it. What about George? George hasn't gotten an extension. There aren't any whispers from reporters that he's looking for one. It seems like he's entering his final 2 years with the team, which is interesting. I guess I get it. He was injured last year. He played through a torn core muscle for half the season, which is alarming. What if he has another serious injury and can't play through it next year? I mean, he's getting older. And he really didn't have any type of an impact in the Super Bowl. He really hasn't had a big, overwhelming playoff game in his career. Still, he's one of the 2 or 3 best tight ends in the league. He's essentially maintained his level of production and performance for the last 3-4 years. And it's starting to look like he won't finish his career with the 49ers. Sign through this year, sign through next year. And then I don't think the Niners are going to be able to afford him, especially if they extend Brandon Aiyuk, especially considering they've already extended Christian McCaffrey. And what's interesting about the way the Niners have structured some of their contracts recently is like even Travarius Ward, he's in the final year of his deal. He's going to have a void year on his contract. So in 2025, he'll still count against the Niners cap, even though he won't be on the team anymore. Same thing for Javon Hargrave when he's finally off the team. So the Niners are running out of cap space, and it seems like Kittle is one that they're okay with losing. Are you guys okay with losing Kittle? If I were Kittle, I wouldn't want to come back to the Niners. How about that? Let's look at it from the other perspective. The Niners choosing who they want to keep around. They obviously want McCaffrey. They want Purdy. Someone has to go. Kittle's older. From Kittle's perspective, wouldn't it be nice to leave the Niners? Are they helping him or hurting him at this point in terms of his ultimate legacy? They don't give him the ball as much as other teams would. They haven't won a Super Bowl, so it's not like Kittle can say he sacrificed to become a champion. I'm thinking he leaves at the end of his career and has a little second act somewhere else, kind of like Delaney Walker did when he went to Tennessee. I'm thinking Kittle goes to the Titans, actually. Yeah. In 2 years, he's going to go to the Titans. He lives in Nashville. They'll throw him the ball like 150 times a year, and he'll actually have better numbers on that team. Kittle's career is very interesting. He was he was on the original Kyle Shanahan team. He became the go-to guy in the passing game in 2018. The go-to guy, the number one option. Then the next year they go to the Super Bowl and they sort of take a little off his plate. They start throwing Emmanuel Sanders, Debo Samuel Moore. They extend Kittle, and then he firmly gets entrenched as like the second or third option in the passing game. And in the Super Bowl, he was the fifth option. Why? I don't understand that. You could say it's because he's older, but Travis Kelce's 4 years older than George Kittle and still gets more targets than Kittle. I think it's a Kyle thing. I don't really understand it. I think when you look back at George Kittle's career, you'll feel like he was actually underutilized as a receiver. It's great what he can do as a blocker, but he was paid to catch a lot of passes. He was paid because he went crazy in 2018 and 2019. And then Kyle lost interest and started featuring Debo, who's also really good, but really expensive. I think what we're seeing a lot from teams is that you don't want to spend a ton on wide receivers. The teams that do generally don't win Super Bowls. Like, just look at the Tyreek Hill thing. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill when he was affordable. Then when he started making a ton of money, they sent him to Miami. He's the highest paid wide receiver in the league. He was the last 2 years. Miami didn't win a Super Bowl, but the Chiefs did. Both of them. And I think people are realizing like it's way too expensive of a position. They're important, but they only catch the ball, 7-8 times a game tops. It's not helping you win a Super Bowl spending that much money on a wide receiver. So look at the tight end position. Those guys can produce as much, if not. I mean, Travis Kelce produces like a wide receiver, but doesn't get paid like one for whatever reason. Kittle used to produce like a wide receiver, still does, and still could if he had opportunities, but won't here because Kyle is a wide receiver at heart. Is that it? That's probably it, right? Kyle's just a wide receiver at heart. The George Kittle career and the Vernon Davis career, 285s, two tight ends, arguably the two greatest tight ends in franchise history, both essentially underutilized on run-first teams and pushed to the side behind wide receivers who weren't necessarily better than them. Was Michael Crabtree better than Vernon? No. I mean, maybe he's a better route runner, a more consistent possession receiver. But Vernon Davis was averaging like 20-something yards a catch in the playoffs his first two cracks at it. Vernon Davis morphed into like the Incredible Hulk in the play. Do you guys remember Vernon Davis 27-28 in the playoffs? His first two times, first with Alex Smith, then with Colin Kaepernick. He was unstoppable in ways that Kittle never was. Anyway, Kittle, if you have his jersey, get it signed, get it framed. He's not going to be here that much longer, I don't think. Hold on. I got some super chats. Jad is Jat says, not going to lie, Brody. If I saw everyone getting a second contract before I get my first, I wouldn't want to play for the team anymore. Talking about BA. It's okay. Well, that's an interesting point. Although Aiyuk is trying to get his second contract. He has had his first. Brother Bob says, Iggy, love that shirt. Yeah, the Cohn Zones, the Grant Cohn Show's wardrobe is sponsored today by the letter Q and Matt McEwen and his wife who made this shirt, which is so fresh and so clean. All right, let's talk Vernon Davis. Interviewed him yesterday. Highly recommend reading his memoir, which comes out in August, Playing Ball, August 20. He calls himself the real 85. Is that a shot at George Kittle? No. I think, well, he explained it. It's just the way he expresses his confidence in himself. He thinks he's the best player, and anyone who wears 85, Vernon's better than. So that, ipso facto, that means Vernon thinks he's better than George Kittle, which is fine. That's not what I'm here to discuss. What I think is interesting is how athletes can be possessive over their numbers. And that Harbaugh era team had a lot of great players on them. Vernon Davis was one of them. And they don't honor him at all in any way. No one will ever wear 52 ever again. Patrick Willis's number. It's off limits. No one will ever wear 21 ever again. That's Frank Gore's numbers, off limits. But they gave away 85 immediately. Vernon Davis was on the team for a long time. He has the fourth most receiving touchdown catches in franchise history with 55. Kittle is nowhere near there. And of course, he has the most touchdown catches of any tight end in franchise history. And if you remember prime Vernon Davis, he was an even better blocker than he was a receiver. And he just faded away. The Niners don't talk about him. He's not part of their culture. Now, maybe that's partly on him. He lives in D.C. He played for the Broncos in Washington after he left the Niners and lives out. I don't even know how closely he follows the Niners anymore. He's an actor now and a producer, and he's an entrepreneur. But he has more touchdown catches for the 49ers in his career than Dwight Clark had. I think the Niners, they do a really good job of bringing players back into the fold and sort of maintaining kind of a family, since it's a marquee franchise with so much history. I mean, Steve Young's always around. Keena Turner works for the organization. Frank Gore works for the organization. I mean, they're good about it. Alden Smith was recently invited to talk to the season ticket holders, the state of the franchise. Oh no, was it the Dwight Clark Legacy event? They keep him around, Alden Smith, and that's wonderful. He's a sweet guy with a big heart, according to all reports. What about Vernon? How about bring back the real 85 one time? He's important. He's an important part of the 49ers history, and I feel like he doesn't get acknowledged. Who are the 49ers, like the best players who fell through the cracks of 49ers history? Don't get talked about anymore. He's one. Who would be some other ones? Matt McEwen says Kittle could be dominant if his number gets called. Yeah, imagine if Andy Reid had George Kittle. Probably throw to him a lot. Y.A. Tittle's another one. Julian Peterson's another one. I feel like Joe Staley's another one. He got replaced by Trent Williams, and everyone forgets Joe Staley. Joe Staley was an all-time great left tackle for the 49ers. Here we go. Bingo. Joe Staley doesn't get talked about much. They immediately replaced him with Williams. Great minds. Thinking the same way. Who else? Where's Justin Smith? They got to bring him back around. He retired and pieced out. Navarro Bowman. That's true. He had 3 or 4 just incredible years with the Niners. And that number 53 is up for grabs. Well, he's a Charger now, though. Garrison Hurst. Garrison Hurst was great. Absolutely. They bring Alex Smith around. Alex Smith is still like part of the organization, it seems like. Alex Smith and Steve Young are always around. Even Jeff Garcia was at the state of the franchise. You know who never shows up? Kaepernick. You think Jimmy will show up when he's retired? I don't. I think he hates the 49ers and Kyle. Tom Rathman was the coach for the team. Haven't seen Crabtree in forever, man, but he was a Raider for a while. Bowman was great. Okay, that's enough of Vernon. Let's talk Ricky Pearsall. I think it's pretty clear that the Niners are not messing around with Brandon Aiyuk. Instead of making him happy, look, there's 2 ways they could have went. Brandon, you're irreplaceable. We're going to give you a contract extension in May and have you there for minicamp. That's what a lot of teams did with their wide receivers. Brown said, Amon-Ra, you're irreplaceable to us. We got to have you. Niners didn't say that. They went the other route and said, we might replace you if you don't lower your demands. We're drafting a wide receiver in round 1. So the question is, can Ricky Pearsall really replace Brandon Aiyuk? Because that's what they drafted him to do. When they drafted him, people were saying, oh, he could be the next Debo. Hell no. No. Debo runs over people. Debo's a yak monster. Weighs like 220 pounds. Pearsall weighs like 180 something. He is a route technician. He's a finesse wide receiver like Aiyuk, except Aiyuk is like 205 pounds. He's also really strong. So that's the position that Pearsall could play. Can he replace Aiyuk? Well, I've watched him. I watched Aiyuk his rookie year in practice. I've seen Pearsall's rookie year in practice. Both good. Aiyuk clearly better. Just as good of a route runner. Bigger, faster, stronger, better. So if it's a 1-for-1 replacement, no, absolutely not. But it's not that simple. Pearsall isn't replacing rookie Aiyuk on a cheap, reasonable deal. He'd be potentially replacing veteran Aiyuk, who would be getting paid quarterback money. And that's a discussion. Would you rather pay Brandon Aiyuk $30 million a year or Ricky Pearsall like $5 million a year to play the same position? Well, I might go with the second one. I wasn't a big fan of the Ricky Pearsall pick, and I didn't think he was worth the first round pick, but I'm definitely not a fan of spending that much money on pretty much any wide receiver. I mean, okay, Justin Jefferson gets $35 million a year, and he's quote unquote worth it. Does anyone think the Vikings are going anywhere? Ever. I don't. How do you make that work? You have to have a quarterback on a rookie deal, and with him on the team, you'll be too good to get a really good quarterback. Like, they couldn't get a top 1, 2, 3 pick because they had Justin Jefferson on the team. So they had to reach for JJ McCarthy with the 10th pick. And then they're not even starting. They have Sam Darnold. I just don't think it's a conducive to winning a Super Bowl, which is all we're talking about with the Niners, right? Not like paying players what's fair or being a family or being player friendly. It's just winning a Super Bowl. And is making Brandon Aiyuk the second highest paid player in the team the way to do it? I don't think so. So I think it would make much more sense to go with the rookie at that position. And from what I've seen with Ricky Pearsall, he's good enough. He looks solid. He looks like a good route runner. He looks shifty. He looks not scared to go over the middle. He doesn't look like Brandon Aiyuk, but he looks good enough. So if the Niners get a good deal for Brandon Aiyuk, you got to trade him, man. You can't give him $30 million a year just because he wants it. You can't force him to play out the 5th-year option and be a malcontent in the locker room because it's not going to help you win the Super Bowl. It's not. You're better off trading him and having one team. It's hard to have one team that's not fractured. Teams that lose Super Bowls often fracture. Happened to the Eagles last year. Happened to the Niners 4 years ago. They often fall apart. Holding Brandon Aiyuk here against his will without an extension is asking for something to fall apart on this team. Asking. So the time to extend him was before minicamp. They don't want to do it. They brought in Ricky Pearsall. They've made it clear how they feel about paying Aiyuk what he wants. All right. You've seen Ricky Pearsall. He looks pretty good. Let's go. Trade Aiyuk. What are you waiting for? The Niners are going to mess around and mess this up because you could argue that extending Aiyuk could work out. Trading Aiyuk could work out. But what they're going to do is option 3. They always do option 3. Try to trade Aiyuk, ask for too much, keep him here against his will, try to force it, and then when it blows up in their faces, be like, wow, I'm so surprised. Thought we understood human dynamics. How did this not work? Right? This is what happened with Jimmy. They decided we don't want Jimmy anymore. Jimmy's not part of our future. He's replaceable. You brought in his replacement, and then you held on to Jimmy for years because teams weren't willing to give you what you wanted for him, and eventually you got nothing for him, and it did fracture the locker room. People were not in Trey Lance's corner. You had the Trey Lance faction and the Jimmy Garoppolo faction. It was obvious, and of course, Brock Purdy saved everyone. The 49ers messiah, really, but that's what Kyle Shanahan created by deeming a player replaceable, bringing in his replacement, not getting rid of the expendable player because he's worth so much to you. How is Aiyuk worth so much to you when you won't pay him what he wants and you just drafted his replacement? Just trade him. And if you lose the deal, that's life. That's life. Iggy, we aren't winning a Super Bowl this year without BA. Hey, I got to tell you something, Brother Bob. You know what I'm going to say too. Niners aren't winning the Super Bowl this year with them either. You know why? Kyle Levy. Average student says potential topics. Interested to know more about the athlete journalist dynamics plus how we evaluate the person versus the athlete plus fan base ranking. The athlete journalist dynamics. It's interesting. It's like when they're playing, it's hard to get an interview. You go to their agent, maybe they'll get back to you. You go up to them in the locker room, maybe later this week. It's kind of tough. I got stuff to do. But when they retire, all of a sudden they got publicists and people being like, hey, so-and-so would like to talk. Hey, so-and-so's available. It's like, oh, okay. All right. Interesting. So that kind of changes when the athlete retires. How you evaluate the person versus the athlete, I really couldn't tell you that. I'm not a scout on that team. Fan base ranking? I mean, the Niners fan base is very large and passionate. And knowledgeable, considering you guys watch me and David, who's just such a great teacher. All right, moving on. Joey Bosa was recently quoted as saying he would like to play for the 49ers. No, I'm going to take that back. Joey Bosa was recently quoted as saying he would like to play with Nick Bosa, his brother, at some point. Obviously, that point will not be this year. Chargers recently renegotiated Bosa's contract, and he's going to play for them this year. But if he has another down season where he misses a bunch of games and doesn't have that many sacks, which is what he's missed 20 games the last 2 years, if he does anything like that again this year, you can bet that Jim Harbaugh will cut Joey Bosa. He'll be a free agent, and then you know what the Bosas want. The Bosas will want the 49ers to sign Joey. And I don't even know that they'll have a choice. So how do you guys feel about that? Let's play that out. Joey gets hurt for the third year in a row. And rather than give him $36 million or whatever his cap number will be next year in LA, the Chargers release him. He's a free agent. Nick calls up Kyle or John or Parag or Jed or whoever and says, hey guys, I want you to sign my brother Joey. He's a really dominant player, and he would like to play for us. And if you want me happy, you need my brother here. I haven't really been happy. Sure, I've been having down seasons too, but it's because I'm blue, and I need my brother. Just like LeBron needs his son, and Giannis needs his brother. I need my brother here for my state of mind. Bosa already got Steve Wilkes fired. I'm talking Nick Bosa. Talking about Steve Wilkes didn't have him prepared for the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I would kind of expect Joey Bosa to be on the Niners next year. Probably Leonard Floyd won't be. Yetur Gross-Matos probably won't be. Those guys are 1-year rentals. And then next year, the Niners will give Joey Bosa a 4-year contract. Or whatever the Bosas decide he's worth. Am I too cynical? Tell me I'm wrong about this. I think I'm 100% right. Once Joey's a free agent, Nick is signing him himself. Nick is essentially the Niners general manager right now. He makes more money than Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch put together. You should just start calling the 49ers the San Francisco Bosas. Because it's happening. And maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need a second Bosa. Maybe that's what holding them back. How do the Niners get over the hump? More Bosas. Could there be a third Bosa they could add? What about the dad? He used to play in the NFL. What's his deal? Does he want to win a Super Bowl? Or is he just about the money? How old is he? Is he still in his 50s? That's not that old. I think John Bosa suited up. Does he have a sister? There needs to be a cousin. Or is there a chance that the Niners trade Nick Bosa in a couple of years if he keeps giving them 9-10 sacks a season? No. Nick owns the team at this point. Okay. Let's make some sleeper picks. It's time to go full sleeper. Here we go. Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Of course, I thought the Mavericks are going to win this one for some reason. But it's been really fun to watch the Celtics completely dismantle them and embarrass Luka Doncic. That fool fouled out in game 3. That's so funny. So let's go to game 4. Sleeper picks. Oh, let me take that little thing off the screen so you can get the full QR code. Luka Doncic, game 4. Let's see. Seems a little out of shape. Seems a little tired. 32.5 points. I'm going less. I think he's going to pout the whole game, and they're going to lose. That's what I see happen. Kyrie Irving, 35 points. I'll pick the more because, again, I think Luka Doncic is going to keep going down in a blaze of glory, and Kyrie Irving will score a bunch of buckets that don't matter to pad his numbers in a loss. He's good at that. Jason Tatum, 31.5 points. I'm going to pick more. He's going to want to be he's going to be gunning for the NBA Finals MVP because that's what matters. Jaylen Brown, 24.5 points. Also picking more. Washington, Dallas, a bunch of dogs are going down. And then Jrue Holiday. Steals and blocks. Steals and blocks for Jrue Holiday. 1.5. In a closeout game? More. I'm a big Jrue Holiday guy, though. Let's view the entry. I want more on everyone except for Luka, because I just think Luka couldn't happen to a better guy. If I get all 5 right, I win $163. And as you guys know, if you follow the channel, you watch me, I often get these right. It's a 9.48 times payout. 5 correct. With 4 correct, I get $19. And with 3 correct, I get $3.90. So, should I do the combo? Oh, snap. I didn't even know about the combo, bro. Did you know about the combo? Because I didn't know about the combo. I've been doing max. I'm going to do combo, bro. Hitting the combo, submitting the entry. Bingo. Oh, I'm definitely winning this one. You guys want to play? Use the promo code COHN or the QR code. Get $100 in your first deposit match. Also, I'm giving away free money. I told people last time, if you want to play, I will reimburse you the first $10. So let's say you go download the Sleeper app right now. Make your first deposit. It's $10. They match it. So now it's $20. Hit me up on Twitter. DM me. Say, Grant, here's a screenshot of me using your promo code. I Venmo you $10. So now you made a $20 pick for no money. That's right. I'm paying you to use my promo code COHN. So go make a free pick over at Sleeper. On the house. Tell them I sent you. Don't you love when people say that? Tell them Grant sent you. I think there's a lot of pressure on Javon Hargrave this year. I mean, the Niners signed him to a 4-year, $84 million contract last year, and everyone was like, great deal. Niners win the offseason. He's the best player available. And then he had like the most nondescript, forgettable season ever. And everyone the Niners let go so they could afford him had an incredible year. Azeez Al-Shaair, incredible year. Charles Omenihu, breakout season. Samson Ebukam, Colts love him. So, in retrospect, that Javon Hargrave signing was the worst move the Niners made. And if they hadn't made it, if they had just left him alone and re-signed those players I just mentioned, they probably would have had a better opportunity to win the Super Bowl. I mean, imagine if they had Azeez Al-Shaair on their team when Dre Greenlaw went down the Super Bowl. They might have won the game. But instead, they had Javon Hargrave doing a whole lot of nothing. Getting pushed around the run game. Getting nowhere as a pass rusher. And what's crazy is why did they sign him? He was playing in a 5-man front in Philly. The Niners don't use a 5-man front. They use a 4-man wide 9 front. It's way different. A 5-man front affords the defensive tackles one-on-ones. Nose tackles, D tackles, all get one-on-ones. You really can't. The offensive line can't double team anyone 5-on-5. The Niners, with this wide 9 front, really invite both D tackles to get double teamed. And Hargrave isn't built for that. He can win one-on-one matchups. He can't anchor against double teams. Furthermore, when the Niners made the signing, it's almost seemed like they were making it with the Eagles in mind. Like, that's our competition. We have to be better than them. Let's take one of their best players. The Eagles, 1, fell apart. They're not the Niners' competition last year. Maybe they are this year. And 2, didn't want Hargrave. They saw him for what he was, over the hill, a product of their scheme, let him go, replaced him with Jalen Carter in the draft. So the Niners didn't get over on Philly. They didn't get one. They didn't take anything from Philly. They just made a terrible trade-off, whatever you want to call it. And now he's here. He's not going anywhere. They can't cut him this year, next year. Even when he's off the team, there's going to be void years and dead cap. This was just a brutal signing. So all he can do is improve, give him more production. 7 sacks and poor run defense ain't going to cut it for what he's getting paid. Of all the people on the Niners, the people who need to really step it up and have the most to prove are on the defensive line. It's Hargrave and it's Bosa. Bosa's had a terrific career, but last year ain't cutting it for what the Niners are paying him. Bosa gave the Niners 10.5 sacks and poor run defense for $35 million a year. I mean, they just signed that with Leonard Floyd for what, $10 million a year? 10.5 sacks and poor run defense is not hard to find. The Niners just got it in Leonard Floyd. So Bosa, your task is 15 sacks and great run defense. Hargrave, your task is 10 sacks and great run defense. Although, how is that reasonable to expect from Hargrave? He's just going to turn into a great run defender at 30-something, 31 in a brand new front. It's not going to happen. So at least if he could just be a pass rusher, that's what they're paying you to do, man. When you have 11 sacks that year in Philly, you gotta get the quarterback. You got to be in better shape. You got to have a little bit more burst at the end of your pass rush to hit the quarterback and not just pressure him. Because you saw what the Niners did to Eric Armstead. He was overpaid. He wasn't producing. He got bounced. And not to save cap space. Eric Armstead is going to cost the Niners $15 million against the cap in 2025. That's how much they didn't want him anymore. They're paying for him this year and next year. And he's not going to be on the team either year. So Javon, you're up. You got a lot to prove. I got one more minutia thing, and then I want to talk quarterbacks. No one talked about Ben Bartch after OTAs and minicamp, but the Niners, they're trying to build a 5-man offensive line, and you want continuity. And often, the guys who play in the offseason, the guys who start, Daniel Brunskill got hurt a few years ago. Spencer Burford replaced him in the offseason, and the Niners just rolled with him because they didn't want to change. Jake Brendel's hurt now. He has knee tendonitis. He's in his early 30s. That doesn't sound good at all. That sounds like something that could be bothering him the rest of his career. So the Niners have to already plan for life after Jake Brendel. They have John Feliciano, another center who could play the position at a decent level, but he's also old. He's the same age as Brendel, and he didn't participate in OTAs or, minicamp. And I don't know why. And he's not that good. So it would really behoove the Niners to have a younger center that they're developing who could step in as soon as now. And it's Ben Bartch. It was Nick Zakelj. It doesn't seem like that's going to work out. He was a later pick. He played left tackle at Fordham, and I don't know. I don't think he even can snap the ball consistently or block NFL defensive linemen. But Ben Bartch was a 4th-round pick. Played 4 years for the Jaguars. He started 20 games. He's played at guard, and it seems like he can play center. Chris Forster seems to really like him. He was developed in Jacksonville by George Warhop, who I know. I wrote a story about his wife for Sports Illustrated 10 years ago. So I know their family. He's a really good offensive line coach. He's been in the NFL for a very long time. He's extremely respected. Coached in the NFL since 96. And I mean, he was with the Niners. He helped develop Joe Staley. So if he says, I mean, he personally recommended Ben Bartch to Chris Forster. Chris Forster mentioned that to the media. Said, look, if George Warhop recommends him, I believe in him. Had him here since last year. They've been developing him. They developed Jake Brendel over time as a starting center. This guy could be the next one. He's 6'6". He's 315 pounds. He's way bigger than Jake Brendel, who frankly wasn't good in the Super Bowl. It's his job to adjust and reset the protections at the line of scrimmage, and he couldn't do it effectively. Maybe it wasn't his fault. Maybe the Chiefs just presented him looks that he couldn't decipher, or Kyle Shanahan didn't prepare him, but that's a big part of the center's job on this team is setting the protections, and I don't think Brendel does a particularly good job of it. So if he keeps missing time, if Feliciano keeps missing time, you're always looking for someone who's not 32 to start at center for you, and that's Bartch. Keep your eye on Benjamin, is what I call him, because I know him like that. Would you ever Kate Rooney on us and move to another market? Shout out to Kate Rooney. I love Kate Rooney. I worked with her hella much. Congratulations to Kate. I don't think so. I feel like I'm a Niner guy, and moving to another market wouldn't really help me cover the Niners. Although, if some national place wanted to make me a superstar, we could talk. But I feel like cable television is kind of dying. Like, what's the next step after YouTube now? ESPN? Is that really it? It seems like, how's that working for Pat McAfee? I don't really watch him. But it seems like this is where people are going, not the other direction. So I don't know where my future, I don't know what is in store for me. BA isn't a product of the system. He makes the system better. He does make the system better. But is he irreplaceable? Right? No. He does make the system better. But would the system break if they didn't have Brandon Aiyuk? I don't think so. I don't. BA is not the Super Bowl problem Kyle Levy is. It's true. It certainly is true. But paying $30 million to a wide receiver just doesn't help. Any wide receiver. Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. Like, when the Cowboys pay CeeDee Lamb eventually $31, $32 million a year, you know what, Niner fans? You know what you're going to do, Niner fans? Laugh. And I will too. Because that will really cement the fact that team's going nowhere. Like, you guys couldn't win with CeeDee Lamb on a rookie deal. Now you're going to pay him $32 million a year. You're paying Dak $40 million a year. No one's scared of you. You're going to laugh. And he's better than Brandon. Dustin the Gale, good question. All day, every day, Kim, brother Bob, the Niners ain't going to win a Super Bowl, period. Not with this staff and quarterback combo. All day, every day, Kim. Daniel Sotelo, can we stop calling $30 million quarterback money? $30 million is Daniel Jones quarterback money. Yeah, but I just feel like, okay, that's a good point. Maybe I'm kind of stuck in the past. How many players who aren't quarterbacks make more than $30 million a year? A handful? That's why I would say it's quarterback money. But yeah, I guess I got to update my verbiage. All day, every day, Kim says Kyle doomed his Niners career when he didn't take a top-notch quarterback within his first 2 seasons. I think it's interesting that his underlings, or his, what do you call, D'Amico and Robert Saleh, they left. They didn't do what Kyle did. They drafted a quarterback year 1. Didn't work for Robert, worked for D'Amico. But I think they both were like, hey, that's the one thing about Kyle I'm not going to copy when I get my opportunity. Paying $34 million a year for a non-performing D end equals no Super Bowl help. Agree. That contract, people don't want to talk about Bosa's contract, but it's really looking awful right now. Because for him to live up to it, even if he has 16 sacks in a season, 17 sacks, like, you're paying $2 million a game for a sack. If the sack comes in the first quarter, it may not even impact the outcome. I don't know. I think the Niners, Bosa's deal is interesting because it feels like It came right at the end of a big shift in the NFL. What was the trend this year in the draft? Offense over defense, right? The first 14 picks were quarterbacks, wide receivers, offensive tackles, all of them. So I think the trend in the NFL now is if you're making large investments, top 15 picks, $100 million deals, it's for offensive players. It's for offensive players because that one defensive end isn't going to win the Super Bowl for you. You can manufacture pressure, you can simulate pressure. Also, with one defensive end, you can chip them, you can double them, you can slide to his side. I mean, there's so many things you can do. You can run the ball. So I wonder if the Niners end up regretting that deal just because it's on it's for a defensive player. That's not where the league is going. It's all about simulated pressure now, not just paying one guy and saying be the pass rush. BA helps Super Bowl runs more than Bosa. Facts and Kim agreed. See, that's the thing with BA though. It's like he has the skill set to do that if they would feature him, but 4.7 catches per game is not the impact. It's the same issue. 4.7 catches per game for $30 million a year. Like, no, it's the same issue. Okay, last thing. The backup quarterback competition. When the Niners signed Josh Dobbs, I was thinking, oh, I love this. He's better than Sam Darnold. Meanwhile, Darnold's the starting quarterback for the Vikings, which is preposterous. And Dobbs is taking third string reps with the Niners, which is preposterous. I mean, throughout OTAs and minicamp, Brandon Allen took every single second team rep with the Niners offense, every single one. And maybe it's veteran courtesy because he's been on the team longer. But it's only been 1 year longer, and he's not that much older than Dobbs. And Dobbs was on 3 teams last year and famously picked up the offense immediately. And watching Dobbs right now, his issue isn't knowledge of the offense. I mean, I don't know how much he knows, but when I watch him, there doesn't seem to be any hesitation. He seems to know what to do. He gets the team in and out of the huddle. He gets into the line of scrimmage. He gets the play called. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly. It seems like he knows what he's doing and where to go with the ball. It's just that anytime he throws the ball more than 5 yards, 10 yards down the field, those short passes underneath, he's money. He's decisive. He takes what the defense gives him. He's a little mobile. But we all know, like, the bread and butter of the Niners passing game is that intermediate pass off play action, 10 to 20 yards down the field. Generally over the middle, generally on in-breaking routes, generally on dig routes in particular. I mean, Kyle calls a dozen of them a game or more, and Brock Purdy throws them beautifully with tremendous anticipation. Dobbs doesn't throw those passes particularly well, or at least he hasn't in practice. It's high, it's behind, it's off. Those are passes that require anticipation and accuracy. They're not short passes. They're kind of tough. Now, they are over the middle. It'd be tougher if they were deep or toward the sideline, but you need some accuracy. And that's what I haven't seen from Dobbs yet. He's too scattershot on the offensive system's most important passes. If he's going to replace Brock Purdy for a month and he's a dink and dunk quarterback. You want to talk about dink and dunk quarterbacks? Dobbs. Because he's not accurate enough to throw the ball any further than that. He might want to. He seems to have a strong arm, but it's just, he can't put the ball where he wants to if it's more than 5-10 yards down the field. Which brings us to Brandon Allen. He's not good either. The Niners have like 2 third-string quarterbacks on their team right now. Allen has looked better than Dobbs, though. It's just more accurate. But it doesn't mean that if Brandon Allen were to start for a month that he'd do that much better than Dobbs. I think the Niners really are, after talking for so many years about how important it is to have depth at the quarterback position and have a good quarterback room, they don't have a good quarterback room this year. They have Brock Purdy. God help him if he has to miss any games. and they're in a playoff race. Because I'm not sure that this team, even this team with this coach and these players, could win with Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs. They don't exude a whole lot of confidence. Josh Dobbs has 3 career wins, and Brandon Allen has 2. And then they have Tanner Mordecai, who was undrafted. Thinking they could have taken a quarterback this year in the draft before Tanner Mordecai. Although maybe Tanner Mordecai is going to be even better than Brock. You just never know these days with how the Niners luck into these quarterbacks. But so far, this quarterback competition has really only revealed that the Niners don't have a backup quarterback. If Brandon Allen is the second best quarterback on your team, you don't have a second best quarterback on your team. You don't. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Brandon Allen. It's just he's been around. He's had opportunities. It ain't happening. Kind of reminds me of like Brian Hoyer from forever ago. Yeah, you bring him here because he's a quality backup. He's good in the meetings. He's fine in practice. He's smart. He'll be a coach one day. But you don't want him to play football, actual football. That's not what you want. He's a third-string quarterback. Ideally, he's not even suited up on game days. But this guy could actually start games for the Niners this year. In fact, he probably will. He's the next in line if Purdy goes down. Yikes. Maybe the Niners can trade Brandon Aiyuk for I'm kidding. All right, let's get the rest of these supers. Bay Area baller, member for 33 months. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. BA helps Super Bowl runs more than Bosa. Facts, and Kim agreed. Facts. It's true. All right, guys. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'm going to go do some beautiful things in the sun. Might get a putter. My current putter sucks. It's not that I suck at putting. I'm a great putter. My putter sucks. Something's wrong with it. So I got to go find a better putter. Because like I said, I don't suck at putting. I'm phenomenal at putting. Okay, can we talk about me playing golf for a while? You guys have to listen to this. I'm really boring now. I play golf and I like to tell people what I did and no one cares. It's like telling people about your fantasy football team. So you have to listen because you subscribe to my channel. You guys can all leave right now. I'm going to talk about golf. So the other day, I went to Chabot. I'm a member there. After 3:00 is $18 to play the 18-hole course. You get the golf cart too. So you already know I'm out there. Paired me up with a dude named Jorge. Shout out to Jorge. And we were playing. If you heard earlier, I destroyed my driver on Sunday at Chabot. Just hit the ball. Club head fell off. I don't know why. Took it back to Alameda Golf Works. It's under warranty. I'm getting a new one next week. In the meantime, played Chabot on Tuesday with no driver, which was fun. Just hit my 3-wood. Fourth hole, par 5. Okay. First shot, 3-wood off the tee. Don't hit it well at all. Major slice, goes like 150 yards tops into the trees. Get in my cart, go down there, find the ball. Do not have a direct line at the hole, which is way up a hill. So I just punched the ball out of the trees onto the fairway about 50 yards. Okay. Now, maybe 75 yards. Third shot. I got about maybe 180 yards uphill onto the green. Pull out a 5-iron. Not an easy club to hit. And I don't really swing it very much. How often am I hitting 180-foot shots uphill? I've been playing the 3-par 9-hole course mostly. So I hit it onto the green 4 feet away from the hole. I didn't even know because it was so far up there. I'd like driving up and looking for my ball. I'm like, oh, it's right next to the hole. Tap in for birdie on a par 5. That was really fun. And then later that day on the 15th hole with my 3-wood par 4, it's a 250-yard hole. I drive the ball to the fringe of the green with my 3-wood. Now, I didn't get a birdie because I don't suck at putting. My putter sucks. I actually lined it up, read the break, read the green, and the speed. I had it all down, but the putter let me down. So I'm working on that. But I like playing golf. It's fun. I swing really hard because I played baseball as a kid. I don't know how to like take anything off. I swing really hard, and sometimes the ball goes really far, but often sometimes I don't even hit it, or sometimes it just goes into the trees. I lose a lot of balls. A lot of them. But, what are you going to do? You know the hardest part of golf? A lot of things are hard. But, like, finding the ball after you hit it. There should be, like, some type of in a video game, they would help you. There'd be, like, an arrow, like, hey, it's over here. But they don't do that in real life. It's just a ball you have to find. And I don't have the best eyesight. And I lose patience. So I'll look for it. And I don't want, if someone's playing behind me and I'm looking for a ball, is that even cool? I don't think that's cool anyway. But that's what I have to say. Use hybrids. I like my hybrid, but my 3-wood hits the ball a little bit farther. The hockey stick isn't helping me putt, unfortunately. Fonzie Gonzalez says, do you golf at Tilden? You should try Blue Rock Springs in Vallejo, West or East course. I haven't been to either one. I want to go to Tilden soon. Jorge, who I played with on Tuesday, was telling me about Blue Rock Springs and said it's dope. I've heard about Blue Rock Springs from multiple people. I just keep going to Chabot because it's $18 and it's not that far from where I live. But I need to I have very little confidence when it comes to golf. I'm new. So I like playing the same course over and over again because I get a feel. I feel like every time I get a little bit more confidence, but going to Tilden will just break me right now. I think I'm too insecure as a person, certainly as a golfer, to try those courses. But soon, once I get a better putter, because again, it's not me. I'm a great putter. And I need my driver. Then I'll go to those places and I'll tell you about it. I kind of want to do like golf vlogs, but again, I'm so self-conscious on the golf course and I don't want to hold people up and I suck. So there's enough pressure just on myself to hit the ball. But once I start videotaping myself, I'm sure it'll just be all bad. So maybe eventually. I like the idea of a Cohn Zone Classic in a couple of years though, once we all get our swings dialed in, you know what I'm saying? Have I played the Marina course? Yes, I love the Marina. Now, I haven't played the 18. Everyone says it's very windy and tough after like 2 o'clock, but the 9-hole course is just a lot of fun. I've played that one like 3 or 4 times. Good times. Yes. My friend's a member there. They're redoing the driving range. Thanks for listening to me talk about golf. That was scintillating. I'm going to go play it. I'll be back tonight with Jesse. Jesse and I didn't do a show last night, but we're going to do a show tonight on his channel. So stay tuned for that. 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. Have a good one, everyone.